From the Cronkite Studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Stadium renovations, affordable housing, and more changes could be on the horizon in Scottsdale. Find out how the city is planning to reinvent themselves.
A pop-up shop is bringing together international cultures. We take a look at how Arizona refugee women are making big strides in a small business.
In the elaborate way One Valley High School is showing students how distractions behind the wheel can turn deadly fast. The dangers of texting and driving.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Sydney Eisenberg.
And I'm Nicole Costantino. Thanks for joining us. The White House was expected to unveil proposals today to help stop school gun violence, one day after President Donald Trump chided Republicans for being afraid of the National Rifle Association. We're still waiting for that announcement, but as Austin Bundy reports, the change in tone from the White House was welcomed by Arizona Senator Jeff Flake.
Arizona Senator Jeff Flake said this morning that he welcomes word the White House will be putting forth gun safety measures and that the president has to lead the way for anything to be passed in Congress.
His leadership here is really critical if it's going to get through the House and the Senate. I hope this time, and I do think there's a better chance this time, that the president will lead and really get out front on this. And there are a couple of items that we can make progress on.
Flake has a couple of items of his own. He has co-sponsored bills banning bump stocks, preventing individuals on the government's no-fly list from buying guns, and raising the age to buy a gun from 18 to 21. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer called on Republicans this afternoon to leave their comfort zones and defy the National Rifle Association.
The first step is the president. We all know that the NRA has held the Republican Party in a vice lock. We also know that our Republican friends try to sort of wiggle through this by doing something minor that doesn't get the NRA upset.
But Flake said it's going to take a wide range of legislation to fix the problem.
You'll get a small portion there. The bump stocks have only been used once in one shooting, but it was an awful, awful shooting. That needs to be done. If you do the no-fly, no-buy list, you've taken care of another segment. So I think there's a number of things that we can do, and if we do them all, I think we'll make a difference.
In Washington, Austin Bundy, Cronkite News.
Today, Sean Miller announced his plans to continue as the University of Arizona men's basketball head coach. Miller held a news conference responding to recent allegations of paying players, calling previous reports from ESPN false and defamatory.
I have never knowingly violated NCAA rules while serving as head coach of this great program. I have never paid a recruiter, prospect, or their family or representative to come to Arizona. I never have and I never will.
After a special executive session of the Arizona Board of Regents this afternoon, the Regents and U of A President Robert Robbins said that Miller will remain the University of Arizona basketball coach and will be on the sidelines starting tonight.
Scottsdale is growing and there are plans to make it better for residents, but some are complaining the luxury is pricing out some residents.
And we're not going to start charging for parking downtown.
While parking may stay the same in downtown Scottsdale, the rest of the city will be seeing some major changes throughout the next few years. Community leaders gathered today to discuss upcoming developments and construction projects, including new restaurants and office spaces at Scottsdale Fashion Square, a proposed new facility for Scottsdale Stadium, and pathways that connect the different neighborhoods of downtown Scottsdale.
We need to rope it all together. I think we can all agree that so much change and growth has happened, but it's time to really link it all together, create a better sense of walkability.
With many luxury developments popping up across Scottsdale, the panel was questioned to see if affordable housing could be brought to places like Old Town Scottsdale.
So if we truly wanted to see affordable housing in some of these areas, the only way to achieve that, because of the cost of the land and the cost of construction, is to go higher, and I think there would be a resistance to that.
Carter Unger, president of Spring Creek Development, and Scott Nelson, senior vice president of real estate services for Mesa Rich, which operates Scottsdale Fashion Square, say they do not have plans to build affordable housing at this time. Since 2010, downtown Scottsdale has seen a 28% growth in population.
Pop-up shops have become increasingly common for the past decade among big brand retailers such as Spirit Halloween and Amazon. But as our reporter Tim Johns recently found out, smaller businesses and nonprofit organizations believe that they too can cash in on this trend.
On any given day this past February, Luma Abdelbahi could have been found hard at work at the Global Market in downtown Phoenix, a pop-up shop that brought together the food and handmade crafts of various Arizona refugee women.
When working here, we love all of us happy and like to work together and like the family.
The shop, a collaboration between 3 local nonprofit organizations, was put together by a team of ASU students led by Alia Al-Madid. Al-Madid says that the short-term nature of pop-up shops was ideal for these groups because it helped to limit the risk of starting a business.
We had limited funding, so to them, it will be very hard to sustain a store for 12 months.
Ashley Vizera is the programs manager for the Arizona Small Business Association. She too believes that the pop-up shop is a smart way for small businesses and nonprofits to start out.
A lot of these business owners have great ideas, but they don't really know how the community is going to perceive their ideas. So this pop-up shop concept allows them to really test the market.
But despite the fact that the market proved to be financially successful, for Abdelbahi, the best part of the experience was developing lasting relationships with the other refugee women.
The market is almost done. I will be crying because I love to work with them and I love to look them every time when I came. Yeah, it's amazing.
Blending business with social work, one pop-up at a time. In Phoenix, Tim Johns, Cronkite News.
The global market featured women from the Syrian Sweets Exchange, the American Muslim Women's Association of Arizona, and Rise Refugee Integration, Stability, and Education. There are no current plans to reopen the pop-up shop.
Several Arizona Jewish organizations, along with pro-immigrant advocates, gathered in downtown Phoenix this week, hosting a Jews for Dreamers rally. Cronkite News reporter Alexis Burdine was there and spoke with Jewish community members about what motivated them to advocate for DACA recipients.
We make America strong.
Powerful messages of unity and support echoed through Cesar Chavez Memorial Plaza as members and leaders of the local Jewish community came together, showing solidarity with Valley Dreamers.
Seeing the Jewish have our back and be with us, stand on our side, I think it's helped because it shows that there is common ground.
Despite the unfavorable weather, the rally went on. 2 different groups brought together, they say, by their quest to obtain social justice. These Jewish community members say they empathize with Dreamers because there was a time when Jewish people were uncertain of their future too.
We've had situations in the Jewish community where people have said send them back, and they sent them back to crematoria, they sent them back to gas chambers, they sent them back to horrific situations in death camps.
This is the first step of an ongoing collaboration, ongoing partnership that we just don't want to be out here for a night and then call it quits. We're here for the long haul.
DACA recipients here have shared with me it's the support found at rallies like these that make them feel like they are not alone in their quest for a permanent and clean solution to their situation.
I want to be on the side of history that did create a change. And I think that's what always encourages me and motivates me every single day to say, I know this is a reality at the moment, but there is ways to change history.
In Phoenix, Alexis Burdine, Cronkite News.
Now, although there is no longer an exact date for a decision on DACA due to the pending rulings of 2 lower-level district courts, some Dreamer statuses will be expiring soon, leaving them vulnerable as they go through a lengthy application process.
Phoenix officials are creating a plan to reduce suicide among veterans and their families. Mayor Greg Stanton's office says the initiative aims to create a plan for detecting warning signs and timely intervention. This month, the 21-member team will learn about health policies and receive assistance from federal officials in Washington.
Arizona has the highest rate of pedestrian deaths in the nation, according to the Governor's Highway Safety Association. In 2017, there were 224 pedestrian deaths. Arizona's rate of deaths is almost double that of the national average. Arizona, California, Florida, Texas, and New York accounted for 43% of all pedestrian deaths during the first 6 months of 2017. These states represent around 30% of the U.S. population.
Young drivers experience many distractions while sitting behind the wheel, but what happens when their eyes leave the road for too long? Reporter Megan Meyer shows us the presentation at Desert Ridge High School that opened the students' eyes to that danger.
Nearly 2,800 students gathered on Desert Ridge High School's football field this morning. As the scene was unveiled, the crowd saw a lifeless body lay on top of a vehicle.
Just stay calm. We got help on the way, okay?
5 teens inside the car began to cry out. For Desert Ridge senior Amber Burton, who participated in the mock crash, the message hit home.
I don't want to lose anybody. You don't realize how much can go wrong so quickly.
That's the scenario in this mock crash. In a matter of seconds, a distracted driver collided with a pedestrian, killing her. Although the drama was played out by student actors, Mesa Fire and Police wanted to show teens how a situation like this could very easily become a reality.
It really got their attention, and as scary and as sad it is for them, we would hope that just a scenario like this would embed into their brains and embed into their consciousness.
According to Mesa Fire and Medical, sending or receiving a text takes the driver's eyes off the road for 4.6 seconds. That's equivalent to driving an entire length of a football field, blind.
One of my values of driving is to keep off your phone, because I've seen people drive with it, and I've been passengers with people driving in it, and they've almost swerved off a few times, and yeah, I wouldn't want to be the cause of that.
Moving forward, Mesa Fire and Police hope these students will view today as a wake-up call and will be more aware of the decisions they are making when on the road. In Mesa, Megan Meyer, Cronkite News.
The future of medicine isn't all science and technology.
It is also training the next generation of medical professionals. Coming up, how some future doctors, nurses, and dentists got hands-on training for their potential careers in medicine.
Plus a look at the steps to protect Arizona's desert habitats from dangerous wildfires.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles. In Cleveland. In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem.
Live in Philadelphia. From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
Millions of people die every year from drinking dirty water. I would never have felt I had the ability to do something without ASU pushing me. We built filtration systems out of local materials with the people. To see those kids drink clean water for the first time, it's the most rewarding feeling that you can ever have. I went to ASU because I wanted to change the world. The thing I never would have expected is how the world would have changed me.
Planned Parenthood is targeting 8 states with competitive Senate and governor races, including Arizona. The organization's officials say they will spend at least $20 million. This is continuing the effort to make women's health care and reproductive rights issues that drive voters to oppose GOP candidates.
Abrazo Maryville Hospital will reopen its doors after it was closed last December. The hospital will be used as an emergency department and behavioral health hospital. Maricopa Integrated Health Solutions acquired the hospital as part of a $60.1 million deal. Abrazo Maryville Hospital is scheduled to open in 2019.
High school students who have an interest in healthcare had a chance to experience what their future careers could look like. Reporter Gabriela Bacara has the story.
learning to drill a tooth, using occupational therapy exercises, and physical therapy exercises were just some of the different workshops high school students experienced at the Health Science Career Day at Midwestern University in Glendale. Special Events Manager Janet Ryman says the university offered about 30 different interactive workshops with tools used to train their students.
High school students get to see some of the stuff that even our first and second year students don't ever get to see.
Assistant Program Director of the Occupational Therapy Program, Catherine Schofield, says there are many misconceptions about healthcare careers.
Many healthcare careers are unknown by high school students, especially occupational therapy. So this is a really good opportunity for students at this kind of stage in their life to learn more about what's out there.
According to a Vitalist Health Foundation report, about 80% of Arizona hospitals reported a demand for healthcare professionals in 2016. This program gave the next generation of students a look at a possible career. Morgan Hudson, an occupational therapy student at Midwestern University, says developing an interest at an early stage can be beneficial.
As high school students, it's really important to educate yourself with what it takes, and if this is an area of interest for you, that you have to take the steps through your education to get here.
And the hands-on event helps students get on the right path. In Glendale, Gabriella Becerra, Cronkite News.
Midwestern University is now accepting applications for their Summer Career Institute. 48 high school students will be chosen for the hands-on program.
Arizona Governor Doug Ducey is creating a team to protect the state from cyber attack. The Arizona cybersecurity teams hope to enhance cybersecurity workforce development and educate the public on the best cybersecurity practices. Team members include representatives of various state offices and agencies, local officials, and education representatives. Despite the cooler weather in Arizona, wildfires are still a threat.
There have been more fires in the first 2 months of 2018 than January and February of last year. Learn how these disasters threaten the native plants.
And are these cooler temperatures going to be sticking around? Coming up, I've got your full 7-day forecast.
Cronkite News, weeknights at 5 on Arizona PBS.
I'm Ted Simons, host and managing editor of Arizona Horizon. Join us each weekday at 5:30 and 10 as we bring you the top newsmakers who impact the state. We cover the stories in depth that shape and affect our local communities, and we take the time to ensure that all voices are equally heard. For more than 30 years, Arizona Horizon has been your voice and your source for what matters most, right here on Arizona PBS.
Phoenix Sky Harbor and Phoenix Mesa Gateway Airport saw an increase in passengers for the month of January. More than 3.5 million travelers flew out of Sky Harbor, which is a nearly 3% increase from this time last year. And 20,000 people used Mesa Gateway Airport, marking 4 straight months of growth. Sky Harbor officials say this trend is going to continue into March, the airport's busiest month. Airlines are adding additional flight options.
Arizona's Sonoran Desert landscape is home to many diverse plant species. Wildfires pose a threat to those species, but as Madison Stark reports, one group is working to preserve them.
We are seeing wildfire season year-round. We were active last year. We're starting to become active this year.
Crews are already working to remove dry brush that could feed fires. The Department of Forestry and Fire Management said they've already seen more wildfires in the first 2 months of 2018 than they did in the first 2 months of 2017. And even though there were fewer wildfires recorded last year, the number of acres burned increased, a trend that the department is worried about.
It's not one area that's going to be affected this year. In particular, it's going to be the entire state.
While agencies like the Department of Forestry and Fire Management are working hard to prevent wildfires across the state, plant conservationists are working hand in hand to help protect native Arizonan environments like this one at the McDowell-Sonoran Preserve. Kara Barron is a plant biology conservationist whose research focuses on how fire affects native Arizonan plant communities.
Because the Sonoran Desert historically didn't see any fires or any big fires, the plant communities that live here aren't adapted to fire.
She says wildfires affect the way plant communities like Sonoran cacti repopulate and could potentially lead them to not grow back at all.
If we want to continue to enjoy the beauty of the Sonoran Desert and we want to preserve that, we need to be aware of these things that are affecting it.
And we all need to do our part to prevent wildfires. In the McDowell-Sonoran Preserve, Madison Stark, Cronkite News.
The Department of Forestry and Fire Management and plant conservationists are urging the public to do simple things like putting a campfire completely out and mowing residential lawns in an effort to preserve the beauty of the natural beauty of our state. And speaking of sunshine, let's take a look at our weather this weekend. We are seeing some weather across the country. We're seeing this system left to right. Let's take a look at the south. We're seeing states like Alabama and Georgia having this weather system, and that's also going to bring snow to states like Michigan up in the north, and then moving across over to the Pacific Northwest, we are seeing this big low pressure system that's going to bring some travel delays. So if you're going to be traveling up to that area, the weather's not going to be in your favor. And down home, it is going to be pretty clear and pretty safe, but we are going to be seeing some higher winds in the high country. So let's take a look. We're going to see some winds up into the Grand Canyon at about 20 miles per hour, but those should die down by tomorrow. For our highs across the state tomorrow, let's take a look. We are going to be seeing those temperatures in the low 70s. We're finally getting out of those 60s, 72 in Glendale, 70 in Surprise, 71 in Tempe, and 71 up in Buckeye. But for our 7-day forecast, we are going to be seeing those 60s rise up into those 70s finally. But for Sunday, we're going to dip back down. But then when our start of our work week comes, we're going to see those temperatures rise up into the 80s.
Mesa Public Library just got a new upgrade to help kids learn in an up-to-date way. Coming up on Cronkite News, how technology is creating a new space for kids so they have public access to 21st century technology.
Fridays, it's at Cronkite News, your social sharing connection where you choose the news. Facebook likes and shares, tweets, retweets, and favorites. YouTube views and subscriptions. We're watching you watch us. From our digital home at cronkitenews.azpbs.org to your television, web browser, or mobile device. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Then join us for At Cronkite News, our weekly refresh, each Friday at 5 on Arizona PBS.
By the year 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Before Professor Halden, I had an insane amount of passion, but I almost felt helpless because I didn't know how to use it. Professor Halden gave me a chance to make a difference. Being at a place like ASU allows you to take these big leaps. Ultimately, the biggest problems in the world cannot be solved alone.
Forget the books. You can use a 3D printer, create shapes out of styrofoam, and make your own movie at the Mesa Library's new Think Spot. Reporter Emily Richardson was at the opening to show us the possibilities.
The role of a library in the 21st century America. Is it a 20th century model that is obsolete or needs to be rethought? And the answer is yes.
And this morning, the main Mesa Public Library
pushed themselves into the future by opening a second Think Spot that gives the public access to 21st century technology.
We're into the future, and as things change and time goes forward, we need to upgrade or update the type of technology that we're using.
Chauncey Bradford says he already comes to the library at least every other week, but now he thinks he will be coming twice a week because of the possibilities the Think Spot will bring to his community.
We're going to open up a door and a gateway of technology that a lot of people are going to be able to access and use it to, uplift the people around them.
The Think Spot will give the public access to new technology such as 3D printers, where they will be able to make things such as bracelets, vases, or even a dinosaur skull.
Alongside the 3D printer, people can use a silhouette cameo to cut out designs onto thin pieces of vinyl, an X-carve machine to cut designs into wood or styrofoam, and a sewing machine that can embroider fabric. The Think Spot coordinator, Marin Hunt, is excited to see how this impacts the city of Mesa.
I'm really most excited to see what people come in and dream up and do.
The Think Spot is open to anyone with a Mesa Public Library card. In Mesa, Emily Richardson, Cronkite News.
Right now, the public can just tour the Think Spot at the main branch, but starting March 12th, citizens can take training and start using the technology.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, hear from those against a proposed clean energy initiative. And we'll meet a woman honored for her career and her work outside her job. It's the next Arizona Horizon.
I'm Judy Woodruff on the next NewsHour. On the fire line, women in the U.S. Forest Service speak out, saying they have endured gender discrimination and sexual abuse for years. That's Thursday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thank you for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.